In a possible future, a tsunami of global proportions struck several regions of planet Earth. Among the most affected areas was the district of Hong Kong, China, with the metropolis being completely submerged by the enormous wave. Several months after this incident, a young woman named Asha hides in plain sight amid the wreckage of a building. With the city still submerged, she collects rainwater to drink, cook, and even use as a lantern, attaching small lights to bottles of water. One morning, Asha goes to the top of the building and picks up a radio with headphones from inside a tank. She then tunes into the radio and hears someone trying to contact possible survivors, offering shelter and food. However, Asha ignores it and continues her routine, collecting clean water from an iron grate to cook instant noodles. After eating, she uses her binoculars to observe the surroundings and sees a building collapse right in front of her. She immediately checks the other apartments and sees a few more survivors, who are hiding from possible criminals. In the middle of the flood, Asha sees a package floating near the building and decides to retrieve it. Using a makeshift slingshot, she shoots a harpoon made from a fork and hits the package. However, when she tries to pull it out, an unknown sea creature appears and bites the box. With all her strength, Asha manages to pull the package, but ends up hurting her arm. Even so, she checks what's inside the box and finds some useless appliances, along with a bottle of drink. Asha then takes a sip, uses the drink to clean the wound, and closes it with a piece of cloth. After that, the young woman returns to the top of the building to continue watching, when suddenly she begins to hear someone screaming from an apartment far away. Looking more closely, she sees ships docking near the building, bringing pirates and looters. One of them spots Asha with his binoculars, and fearing discovery, the young woman rushes to grab her things and hides in one of the rooms. Minutes later, the group of pirates invades the building and begins to search everything, but there is no sign of people anywhere. Believing it was just their imagination, they leave, and shortly after, Asha can finally come out of hiding. The next morning, she decides to reinforce security by nailing boards over the windows and covering the rest with curtains. She then looks to see if there is anything useful in the flooded area, when she sees an unconscious little girl floating on a mattress. Believing she is no longer alive, Asha ignores her and goes to the kitchen, when suddenly a mysterious figure passes behind her. The young woman turns to see who is there, but finds no one nearby and believes it was just her imagination. However, as soon as she turns her back, the girl who was on the mattress appears behind her and watches her without showing any reaction. At bedtime, Asha goes to wash her face in the bathroom when, again, she feels that someone is nearby. She then finishes washing and leaves the soap on the sink on purpose, to serve as bait. Shortly after, the little girl goes to pick up the soap, and Asha takes the chance to grab her hand. However, the girl gives her a surprise blow and knocks Asha to the floor, taking the chance to run away. She then finds Asha's room and searches the place until she finds a homemade lamp. With it, the girl explores the building until she finds a door at the end of a hallway with no doorknob and a strong smell coming from the other side. She is intrigued by what is inside, but soon hides in another room before Asha comes after her. Day breaks, and the young woman goes looking for the intruder, who reminds her a lot of her younger half-sister, Amy. She then decides to make food for the girl who, after waking up, returns to search Asha's room and finds a loose electrical outlet on the wall. As soon as she removes it, she sees a hidden envelope with photos of Asha and her family inside. Seeing what the girl is doing, Asha goes after her, but the girl manages to escape, leaving the photos behind. Looking at the pictures with her sister, Asha remembers the night she returned to the apartment to celebrate Amy's birthday. Although the girl admired her sister, her well-behaved and obedient manner always bothered Asha, who was more rebellious and independent. On her birthday, Asha gave her sister a denim jacket as a gift so she would stop borrowing hers without permission. Amy was happy with the gift, but when it was her parents' turn, they gave her a necklace that belonged to her late grandmother. Seeing this, Asha is offended, as the necklace should be passed on to the eldest daughter, according to family tradition. However, her mother replies that Asha never cared about that, and the necklace should stay with Amy, which only made family life worse. Another day passes, and Asha goes to eat her meal when she finds more packages of instant noodles that the unknown girl brought. She is surprised by this, and after preparing breakfast, she goes to the top of the building, leaving a pot of food for the girl. Shortly after, the girl appears and goes to eat the noodles, with Asha challenging her to a game to see who can eat faster. The two eat from the can until Asha picks up a portion with chopsticks and places it above her head, lowering the food to her mouth. The little girl tries to do the same, but the noodles fall all over her face, and the two have fun together. Hours pass and Asha lets the girl sleep in her room, when suddenly she starts crying. Asha asks her why she is crying, but the girl pretends it's nothing. The young woman tells her that in the first days after the tsunami, she used to cry every day, missing her family and not knowing what to do. The little girl says that she was also separated from her family, but she intends to build a boat to find her parents and escape from there. Finally, she introduces herself as Hey Hey and goes to sleep for a while, with Asha happy to finally have someone to keep her company. At dawn, the two return to the top of the building when Hey Hey sees a sticker stuck on the doorknob. The girl removes the sticker, but when she closes the door, she ends up locking them both outside. Asha despairs, but the girl quickly grabs a steel wire and uses it to easily unlock the door. The young woman is surprised by the girl's skill, but warns her that if they want to live together, they must obey some rules of survival. Above all, she must avoid making any noise, as this could attract looters, who will rob them at the first opportunity. The girl promises to obey, and Asha goes to the kitchen to prepare lunch, but realizes that someone has taken some of the stored supplies. Not only that, but she notices that her necklace is missing, and believes that Hey Hey stole it. Irritated, Asha goes after the girl, but she sees through the window that the pirates have returned and are circling the flooded area. Quickly, the young woman goes after Hey Hey, who is distracted listening to the radio, and tells her to be absolutely silent. Fortunately, the pirates do not notice her presence and leave after looting more survivors inside the other buildings in the city. With the place safe again, Asha takes Hey Hey to the bathroom and gives her a bath. The girl asks if Asha also intends to leave and look for her family, but she says that her family no longer exists, and that abandoned building is her home. The conversation continues and Asha asks if Hey Hey took her necklace without permission. The girl is offended by the question and leaves, locking herself in one of the rooms. Asha feels guilty and goes to talk to the girl to apologize for suspecting her. However, Hey Hey appears in the hallway, carrying some things in a basket, and says she wants to be alone. Seeing that the girl is still upset, Asha returns to the top of the building to fetch water to wash the clothes. However, when she gets there, the bottles are empty, and Asha suspects that Hey Hey took the water without permission. She then returns to the girl's room to confront her, but is surprised to find Hey Hey using the water to wash clothes. Seeing this, Asha is reminded again of her half-sister and the fateful night when the tsunami hit Hong Kong. Hours before the event, Asha was watching the news on TV, reporting on the big wave hitting several neighboring countries. However, her mother tells her to turn off the television and come to dinner with the family, as they need to talk. With everyone gathered at the table, Asha's parents announce that they will visit the cemetery to pay their annual respects at her grandmother's grave. However, the young woman says she already has other plans and asks to postpone this tribute, with the excuse that she will have to work during the day. But Amy accidentally lets slip that Asha is going to a party, and her mother orders her to accompany the family. However, Asha refuses and even leaves the table, saying she is tired of her family and the prison she lives in at home. In response, her mother tells her to find another family, and Asha ends the discussion saying that she will stay with her boyfriend. Back in the present, the young woman feels guilty about how she treated her family, and when she goes to sleep, she ends up having a nightmare, remembering the past. However, Hey Hey realizes that the young woman is having a bad dream and wakes her up, saying that she is also unable to sleep. It is almost dawn, so Asha decides to start her routine early and asks the girl for help. While doing her chores, Hey Hey sees the door without a doorknob again and asks what's inside. However, Asha avoids the subject and just tells the girl to stay away from there because the place has a very strong bad smell. Hey Hey obeys and goes to help Asha with the rest of the chores while listening to music on her headphones. Shortly after, the radio picks up the same broadcast about a group offering shelter and food to tsunami survivors. Hey Hey quickly goes to talk to Asha about it, but she says there's no way to know if it's true, and it's better to forget about it. The girl is enraged by this and calls Asha a coward, but she returns the provocation, accusing her of being a thief. At that moment, Asha regrets saying that, but Hey Hey replies that she didn't take her necklace. Along with that, the girl says that Asha is a bitter person and goes to her room, which makes the young woman even more thoughtful. Finally, Asha decides to go to the girl's room to apologize and finds her building a kind of raft. Seeing that she is determined to leave, Asha tries to convince her that there is nothing left in the outside world and that she will only be risking her life. However, Hey Hey says she knows how to defend herself, and then she shows a flare gun she found inside the building. Seeing the weapon, Asha takes it from the girl, saying she can't use it because the noise could attract pirates to them. Finally, she lets Hey Hey continue building her raft, but insists that the world is dangerous and it is best to stay hidden. Another day passes, and Asha hears the sound of rain outside. Without wasting any time, she wakes Hey Hey and takes her to the top of the building, where they both see the buckets full. Thanks to this, they have a new supply of water, and they begin to pour it into jugs, separating the clean water from the water that needs to be boiled. To celebrate, Asha decides to make more instant noodles and open a can of canned sausages. Hei thanks her for the meal and continues collecting water before continuing to build her raft. Seeing the little girl's determination, Asha begins to wonder if staying hidden is really the best idea. Like Hei, she would also like to have a chance to see her family again, especially Amy, and for that reason, she decides to help the girl. Hours later, Hei finishes cleaning the water and storing it in bottles, when Asha calls her to show her something. The two then go to a flooded room, where the young girl shows her the raft she has built, which makes Hei very happy. The girl's smile reminds her again of her sister and the last night they spent together. After arguing with her parents, Asha decided to leave their house, but her sister insisted on going with her and offered to help her find a taxi. Before saying goodbye, Amy made her sister promise to visit her the next morning, and said she had left something for her inside her denim jacket. However, suddenly, a guy ran out into the street and bumped into Amy, which made Asha very angry. But when she looks back, she sees a huge wave coming toward her, and along with the other pedestrians, Asha and Amy run to safety. However, the young woman soon puts this memory aside and helps Hei gather supplies for the trip. When night falls, Asha finds her necklace on the floor and realizes that the clasp is broken. She then discovers that Hei never stole it, so she goes to talk to her and gives her the necklace as a gift, asking the girl to take good care of it. The next morning, the two are finishing their preparations for the trip, but by accident, Hei's headphones get stuck on the wall in the hallway. Because of this, the radio starts playing loudly, and the two rush to put the headphones back on. Everything is quiet again, but Asha fears that someone may have heard the noise and now knows their location. To be safe, she decides to postpone the trip for a few more days and keeps watch on the surroundings to make sure no one is coming. Days later, Asha continues to watch from the top of the building, but there is no sign of the pirates anywhere. She believes the place is safe, so she goes to prepare one last meal and takes some for Hei to eat. The girl believed that Asha had given up on the trip, but she says that the two of them are going to leave on the raft anyway. Hei then goes to get her things when she hears someone's voice saying that they saw people inside the building. Frightened, the girl goes to meet Asha, who has already noticed the pirates' presence and hurries to take Hei to a safe place. She hides the girl in a secret passage behind the closet, and Hei calls her to come along, but the space is too small. Asha says she will look for another place to hide, but Hei does not want her to abandon her and asks to go with her. However, the young woman says she will never abandon her, as Hei has given her a greater purpose in life since she arrived. Finally, she leaves the girl safe inside the hiding place and runs to the door without a handle at the end of the hallway. Seconds later, the pirates begin to search the entire place, and Asha remains silent inside the smelly apartment, which turns out to be her family's former home. Asha covers her nose with a cloth due to the terrible smell, as her parents' bodies are still there. To make matters worse, the pirates continue to search the entire building until one of them finds the door without a handle and kicks it down. The strong smell makes him feel sick, but he continues searching and sees a cloth on top of the sofa. Upon removing it, the pirate finds the bodies of Asha's parents and begins to feel sick, as does Asha, who does her best not to reveal her location. Outside, the group continues to search everything, when one of its members, a young man Hei's age, notices something strange in the closet. The group's leader goes to see what happened, and unfortunately, they end up finding Hei and pull her out of the closet. Hearing the young girl's screams, Asha remembers once again the day of the tsunami, when she and Amy tried to escape the huge wave. The two managed to climb back into the apartment, but Amy couldn't keep up with her sister and ended up letting go of her arm. Asha told her to follow her, but continued climbing the stairs, leaving her sister behind. In the midst of the confusion, Amy ended up falling down the stairs and was trampled by the other survivors, who were running in the hope of escaping the water flooding the building. Finally, Asha managed to reach the top of the building, but there was no sign of her sister, except for the necklace she had left in her coat. Asha felt guilty for abandoning Amy and has remained trapped in that same building ever since, surviving one day after another. With the whole truth revealed, Asha continues to hide, while the pirate leader orders Hei to find out if there is anyone else there. Finally, the pirates find the young woman, and when she tries to escape, the group knocks her down with a blow to the head. Minutes later, Asha is awakened by one of the pirates, who ties her hands with a rope and begins to pull her toward his boat. Asha tries to escape, but the man begins to pull her harder and tries to drag her toward the rest of the group. Before he can, the young woman finds a CD broken in half and uses it to hit the man's hand. Enraged, the pirate grabs Asha and presses her against the water, using all his strength to eliminate her. What he didn't count on was that the young woman had Hei Hei's flare gun, and without hesitation she shoots the man, destroying his face. Outside, the rest of the pirates hear their companion's screams and go to see what happened, but Asha quickly hides inside the building. The group then splits up to look for her, with one of the pirates hearing a woman crying in one of the rooms. When he gets there, he sees the young woman and tries to capture her, but Asha knocks him down using a rope and finishes him off with several blows to the head. She then takes the man's knife and sets out to take care of the rest of the group. Asha then turns on the radio and attracts one of the pirates, who, falling into the trap, is stabbed in the back by the young survivor. The man still resists and the two begin to fight, with the pirate getting the upper hand and pinning her to the table. The pirate begins to squeeze Asha, but she grabs the knife stuck in his back and begins to stab him several times until he falls to the floor, already lifeless. The confrontation continues and Asha finds another pirate, this time a young woman wearing an eye patch. Without hesitation, she grabs hot water, throws it at the girl and locks her in a room, throwing in the stove, which starts to set the pirate on fire. With another member of the group eliminated, only the leader remains, and as soon as Asha finds him on the stairs, she attacks him by surprise with the knife. However, the man fights back with a punch and pushes her against the wall. Unable to break free, Asha is almost at the end of her strength when she sees a lamp above her head. In a last effort, she removes the lamp and leaves the hallway completely dark, which gives her the advantage, and she strikes the man with repeated knife blows. The fight is not over yet, and soon after, the little pirate attacks Asha with a gun. Unfortunately for him, the young woman lures him to the top of the building and then locks the young man outside. Now there is only one pirate left, who is waiting outside the boat, holding Hei Hei prisoner. Asha then tries to hit him with her slingshot, but misses the target, and her harpoon ends up falling straight into the water. The pirate goes to see what happened, but Hei Hei takes the chance and tries to push him into the water. However, the guy ends up pulling the girl, and the two fall together, with Asha jumping in right after to help Hei Hei. Shortly after, the pirate manages to submerge, but suddenly, the sea creature appears and devours him in one bite. Soon after, Hei Hei and Asha manage to get out of the water and go to the boat, free from the pirates forever. Now that they have a real boat, the two follow their plan to escape and even find several supplies stolen by the pirates. Finally, Asha and Hei Hei leave the flooded city, hoping to find a safe haven and, who knows, other survivors. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.